As reported in the last episode, one of the Ukrainian Air Force F-16s flying in the first combat mission involving those newly received strike fighters crashed, killing Lieutenant Colonel Oleksiy Mes, callsign Moonfish. A Ukrainian military source was somewhat cryptic, stating, quote, "During the approach to the next target, communication with one of the aircraft was lost. As it turned out later, the plane crashed, the pilot died," end quote. No other details of the crash were provided, but the source made it a point to state that Moonfish was not hit by enemy fire. Many of you wrote in the comments that you heard Moonfish was the victim of what we call a blue-on-blue, meaning he was downed by his own forces, in this case firing a Patriot surface-to-air missile that was provided by the United States. There has been no official word verifying that's what happened. However, in the wake of the loss of Moonfish, one of only 6 qualified F-16 pilots currently manning the Ukrainian Air Force, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy fired the commander of the country's Air Force, Lieutenant General Mykola Oleshchuk. President Zelenskyy said, quote, "We need to protect people, protect personnel, take care of all of our soldiers." He also said that Ukraine needs to strengthen its army at the command level. Lieutenant General Anatoly Krivenoshko was appointed acting Air Force commander. As reported by the Associated Press, this dismissal came on the same day that Oleshchuk publicly slammed a lawmaker who is deputy head of the Ukrainian Parliament's Defense Committee for her claims that the F-16 was shot down by a Patriot missile. The lawmaker, Mariana Bazula, cited unnamed sources for her claim and demanded punishment for those responsible for the blue-on-blue. Oleshchuk accused Bazula of defaming the Air Force and discrediting U.S. arms manufacturers and said that he hoped she would face legal consequences for her claims. Bazula posted, quote, "The truth will win," end quote, on X shortly after Oleshchuk's dismissal order was published. The Air Force did not confirm nor did it directly deny that the F-16 was hit by a Patriot missile. Oleshchuk said on the app Telegram that, quote, "A detailed analysis," end quote, was already being conducted into why the F-16 went down on Monday when Russia launched the largest ever missile and drone barrage at Ukraine. Quote, "We must carefully understand what happened and what the circumstances are and whose responsibility it is," Oleshchuk wrote on the post shortly before he was dismissed. President Zelenskyy has dismissed several military commanders since Russia launched its invasion in February of 2022. In February of this year, he fired the commander-in-chief of the country's armed forces, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, and in June of this year, he dismissed Lieutenant General Yuri Sodol after public criticism of excessive casualties and accusations of incompetence. Now, both the U.S. and U.K. militaries have suffered blue-on-blue losses to U.S. Army Patriot missiles during Operation Iraqi Freedom. The RAF lost a Tornado, and the U.S. Navy lost a Hornet. In both cases, the pilots were killed. Military aircraft depend on 2 things to avoid being shot down by their own troops. One is the SAM battery picking up the airplane's IFF, which stands for Identification Friend or Foe, which is supposed to allow operators to discriminate between good and bad airplanes in the heat of battle. The other thing is a brief return-to-force profile that mandates friendly aircraft maintain certain altitudes and airspeeds during their transit back to their home base after a mission. But after the blue-on-blue events during OIF, instead of depending on the Patriot's IFS system to work, Hornet Squadron started avoiding Patriot battery envelopes altogether instead of flying through them. One F-18 squadron commanding officer said he was more afraid of American Patriot batteries accidentally shooting him down than he was of Iraqi SAM sites. The bottom line is, while we're still not sure if that's what happened in this case, blue-on-blues are never a good thing, but unfortunately they're inevitable in wartime, especially on a battlefield that's as kinetic as the current war in Ukraine. You punish those who made mistakes, pass on the lessons learned, and continue the fight. All right, that'll do it for this episode. We'll continue to monitor the war in Ukraine and report to you when the situation warrants, so if you're not already a subscriber, become one so you don't miss anything. And in the meantime, I look forward to talking to you again very soon.